There's another red.
Fur Life is proudly sponsored by Uncle Freddy's Gut Glove, The Buck Cage, Comstock Custom Cages, Dusk to Dawn Bow Fishing, Mountain View Guide Service, The Stealth Screen, The Raptor Razor, Night Owl Lures, Wolf Creek Products, PCS Outdoors, Lennon Lures. Today's episode is sponsored by Wolf Creek Products and Traps, featuring Glenn Witchie. Now let's go set some traps.
Okay, well here we are again. Tractor path, crop change. It's not, they just planted this with winter rye to till under, and this is alfalfa and clover. Here we have, this is our fourth check. Second red. The temperature change yesterday really made them move, so we should have a pretty good day today. They said we got a drainage here. Everything comes together here. I mean, it's ideal, and here's the proof.
Fox Photography with Brian Flowers.
Come here. Come on now. Hey.
Should we film this segment with you down here?
Doesn't matter. Over here, another location. Here's our next location. We got another red. You can see, we pan through here. You can see this is the farm lane right here. We got a series of different crop changes here. I mean, it's perfect scenario, and there you go. That's the results. Another beautiful pad catch. That is awesome. And that's number 8 for today. We're putting some fur in the truck today. So that definitely moved last night. So we got a couple more checks to do, so we're gonna take care of him and get going.
Okay, gentlemen, well, it's been a pleasure running with you. We're on my trap line here in Southeast PA. I am John Crawford, and we've got Brian Flowers, Joe, sorry I don't know your last name, Joe Young, and Glenn Witchie.
Mighty Joe Young.
Today we're going to be showing 4 dirt holes from 4 different canine trappers for canines, and we've got 4 different ones here. And any opening thoughts here before we get going?
Especially you younger trappers, don't get too hung up on these dirt hole sets. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You're going to see variations here, and every one of us here is caught predators. I mean, there's not magic in making these sets. For myself, just get that trap bedded solid, but it's not magic. And we're just going to go over it here and show you why we do the things we do, and hope you get out there and catch a bunch of stuff.
I agree. That's good logic. Brian?
Especially if you're putting like multiple sets in, you want to change it up. You like a dirt hole here, I got a poke hole here, you know, urine post, you know, John's got to step down, and then there's also a flat set, so you can just break it up and use different lures too.
Yep. Okay, so Brian, let's see yours first. This is your dirt hole.
It's just basically a poke hole that I just take the stake driver, ream it out, and I'm a firm believer in bait and lure to all my sets. So I'll throw some bait down there. I'll dip a toothpick or something like that, or twig, and throw some lure in there. And then I also put like either sheep's wool or some sort of fur in there. And you can see where my pan is. I put it too close to the hole, you're gonna catch fox, but you might miss the coyote. So I just do a happy medium, about 7 inches away, 6 inches away, and I just make the pan. The pan's the lowest spot in my area, in that trap area. So I mean, it's gonna make his foot want to go right there.
All right.
Anything extra, you just put around the back. Too high of a back here, you might have a refusal for a coyote. But that's pretty much what I do.
Okay, next one.
All right, this is my set. The backing, I just used a little clop of dirt right there, and there is a corn stalk, setting out of it. They sprayed manure on this field last night, and they did run over my set and shut it off, so I redid it here. The hole, I don't use a big hole. It's probably 2 inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, something like that. I like to get it as deep as I can. If I can get it 8 or 10 inches, that's what I want to do. If I go in 4 inches and I hit a root or a rock, then that's as far as it goes. The trap again, it's got it fairly close here because we're trapping fox. I'm like Brian, I kind of got a happy medium right there. It's probably 6 to 8 inches back. I would probably move 9 to 10 inches back for coyotes, and I would have it tied up against the hole if it was strictly fox. I cover it up. I don't do the low over the pan thing. A lot of guys do. I don't see too much benefit myself for it, so I just make it pretty flat. I maybe will put in some subtle guiding, but I don't go real heavy with it. Again, on a dirt hole, I will put bait down there, lure bait and urine, and I try to keep it concentrated on that hole. Back when I started trapping in the 70s, they told us all to take a spray bottle, and we sprayed everything with fox urine, and it's not a good thing to do. You don't want that. You want that focal point on that hole.
Okay.
And it's a chimney.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
basically.
chimney. That's exactly
That's
right.
actually a really good point. Russ Karma is one of the ones that pointed that out to me, that it is like a chimney, and when it gets cold, you always want to make sure you have your lure and stuff down in that right down in the hole as much as possible, because it'll come up out of there. Kind of like if you remember in the old cartoons when the guy had the mad scientist had the beaker and the foam was coming out of it and going on the ground.
Yes.
That all blows. One thing we want to point out here, that we're the West is this way, and we've all put our dirt holes in, whether or not it was by design or subconscious. We've all put our dirt holes facing the primary wind direction. Of course, today it's a warm day, so it's coming out of the south. But Joe, let's see what you got over here.
My set here's the trashiest looking because it's the lucky one that's caught something before.
Yeah.
We've had, I believe, 2 fox here. It's not much of a remake. The hole has been wore out. Bedded the trap back in, about 6 inches centered. I do twist mine a little, so my dog is at 2 o'clock on every set I do, so I know, which way that animal is approached from. And this is actually the highest point on this little mound, so it's the highest of all the sets. So that chimney, is a little higher than everybody else's. And everything goes in the hole because that is where we want them to be focused, on that point where that smell is emanating from. So
Focal point is the key word for that. I mean, it really is. And yep.
it's not rocket science. Yeah.
Like you said before, you want them to stick their nose straight down that hole.
Yes.
And bury it ears deep.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Everything's covered up a little. There's some fiber fill down there, to give them, just that little bit, hopefully a little more coaxing to stick their nose in and, spend a little more time there.
While we're at it, you just actually said something about that. You use a little bit of what, polyfill?
Yes.
Okay. Glenn, what do you use for a pan cover or under?
Wax paper.
Wax paper?
Me, I have insulation. I use
Okay.
just a little bit underneath the pan. I said I have, and also too, I have my levers 6 to 12. I always have my dog left or right.
Okay. And you guys have it actually like 9 to 3?
45, I guess.
Okay. Yep. Now I
I don't know why I do that. I started off doing that when I fox trapping, and it just kind of stuck.
Yep. Well, I don't use any pan covers, and I'm going to show you how I do mine right now. Okay, so this is my dirt hole, and mine is kind of like a legged step down. Everything I try to have funnel down in the hole, and I try to find like a little bit of an upward slope, so as you can kind of see, everything kind of goes up like that. I like my dirt hole to be about 2 to 3 inches round and about 3 or 4 inches deep, if not more. I put my trap in at 12 and 6 because I want this to be as narrow as possible so that the animal won't step anywhere else except where the trigger is. My trigger is right there, and I'm about 5 to 7 inches on the pan center from the beginning of the hole to the middle of the pan, and it's back a little bit more because there's a coyote influx here, and we might have a coyote. You want to be a little bit closer, but I like the step down because it makes them really commit. They have to put all their weight down on the trap in order for it to fire, in order for it to behave the way it should for a step down. But that's really about it, and I do wiggle the trap around a little bit in order to get it bedded. Okay, so what I was saying here was the pan center is about 5 to 7 inches. It'd be about 5 if you're dealing strictly with fox, but because we have coyote influx, I'm back a little bit more. But everything funnels down in the hole. Again, just like with you guys, focal point is the hole, lure and bait. Sometimes I use bait late season, but primarily I just want to try to use lure and a little bit of urine that goes up here. I think we were also talking about maybe trap size, 1.5 for fox, 1 3/4 number 2 for if you've got a coyote around. I want to make sure that whatever I got is in the ground, is there when I get there. And peat moss, I always mix peat moss and dry dirt with everything I do up front. But that's really about it. There's no right or wrong way to put in a dirt hole, but this works well for me, and it just sometimes they go in really good, sometimes they don't. But dirt hole is what we were talking last night around the campfire. If you want to catch an animal, dig a hole.
That's right.
Right? Yep. So, yep. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Interesting to see everybody their different sets. Yep.
Very good.
Thank you.
Hey, we're here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I've been running with Mr. Crawford here, his trap line. We've been doing really well. I did ask him, I don't do a lot of winter trapping. I don't. I go south or I set snares. So I asked him to do a demo on how he sets a freeze-proof set. He's trapped all season long, done real well, right up till the end of season. So he's going to show you how to do it. You've seen this location. We've caught a couple fox here. We got it tuned up on the hill right there a little bit. Just another picture-perfect location.
Yep. Well, one of the most important things you want to always remember, Glenn, is that you're out putting in a lot of energy and input into your trap line. The last thing you want to do is go out and check traps that are frozen on the ground. And here in the east, we have rain and snow and dry conditions throughout. Usually it's dry in November and December. It gets a little bit more wet. And peat moss is the bedding material that I found to be the best that you could ever use, with the exception maybe of wax dirt. Wax dirt takes a lot of time. So I'm going to show you how to put a set in with peat moss and a little bit of dry dirt. And I'm going to try to explain a little bit, in layman's terms and on, kind of short, how it works and how the peat moss behaves with the soil. So come on over here, let's take a look at this. Okay, so I got one of your Wolf Creek 1.5s in there, and what happens is my set is below ground a little bit. All right, so let's take, for example, today it's pretty warm. It's going to start cooling down. Just because it gets down to 28 degrees doesn't mean this trap's going to freeze in the ground. There's thermal warmth in the ground from just from age and from time, and it takes a long time for that to get really cold to where that's going to freeze. So there's no need to get really carried away with it. But when you're dealing with the possibility of rain, then you want to start thinking about using peat moss, because peat moss repels moisture. And I have had traps already that were in the ground that took an inch of rain over the course of, let's say, 12, 14 hours. and still fire the next day. In other conditions, if you had regular dirt, all right, it would just turn into a muddy soup bowl, and then you would have misses. And so what I do is early in the season, I start running 50-50 peat moss, 50-50 dry dirt. All right, under normal conditions, you don't need to put anything on the bottom of the trap. All right, so I'm going to sift some dirt on here.
You don't need a trap pan cover when you're using with peat?
No, I do not use a pan cover because I have the trigger set on a 16th pan drop. I file the notch so that all that has to do is just drop a little bit and it'll fire. So I don't worry about anything getting underneath the trap. But the peat moss acts kind of like dry dirt, and I just sift on there. And now this is mixed with wet dirt, so it will freeze if it gets too cold. But under normal conditions, you're fine. But the temperature normally doesn't go from 30 degrees one night down to 0 the next.
Right.
Okay, so as it gets colder, you use more and more peat with your dirt until by the end of the season, you're using 75% peat and 25% dry dirt. And some guys actually use 100% peat and they just throw some dry dirt on top of it. Okay, and so what'll happen is now when it rains, the peat will repel some of this and the trap will still function. This is what the most important thing is. You always make sure your trap is functioning under all conditions. Now somebody's going to say, well, are canines afraid of this? No, they're not. They're not afraid of it at all. There's guys that have trapped hundreds. I've caught hundreds of foxes on it without any problem. Now, let's say that you go out and you're going to start trapping the end of January. All right, you want to put peat moss in the very bottom and the trap on top of it, because moisture will come out of the ground and attach to the bottom of the trap and freeze it fast to the bottom. Even though this top isn't frozen, the bottom of the trap will be frozen and then it won't fire. So you can take dry dirt and mix it with your peat moss, or you can actually mix it right at the set, just as I did, kind of just like this. And she's done. Then of course your lures go down the hole. The colder it gets, the more lure and scent you use, because not only will it dry out, but it will the animal can't smell it near as much. So that's pretty much it for freeze proofing. That's all I use. Salt or calcium chloride, you can use that. I've used that as well, but that makes a wet spot, and sometimes animals, I've heard, refusing that. For foxes, our foxes are dumb, don't have to worry about that. Coyotes, you want to be a little bit more cautious, and they're not afraid of peat moss. That's what I use, and it works pretty good.
I also noticed that you didn't really worry about bedding that trap too much, but you're using almost a modified step down type set.
Well,
I would assume you don't really have to worry about it as much.
That's correct. And to be fair, when I put the trap in there, I did wiggle it around and get it in there a good bit. But with the step down, everything's funneling down into the fox and there's only really one place for him to step. Once he puts his last foot here, and that's right on the pan. This is a little bit on the long side here, but I like about 7 inches pan center from the edge of the hole to the center of the pan. And as you can see, I'll brush this off so you can see where that's at. That's about 7 inches. And that's good for fox and coyote. We have that influx here. Coyote, you want me back a little bit more. But you want to use more peat moss the colder it gets or the more wet it is. And that's it.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, John. It's very good information to have.
All right, let's get back on the line.
All right.
Here we are at our next location. There's another crop change. There's tomatoes they had planted in this field.
Lighting's perfect.
Come on, buddy.
We're just
this. Well, this location right here, we're cutting down this log, actually tractor path, comes into the wood line. Where would you set right here?
Well, like you said, that wood line right there, that brush line hedgerow, it's all grown up and it runs for miles both ways. So that's going to be a major travel corridor right there. Then we have this road coming in here with another hedgerow coming down. So actually there's several good places to set here. Right at the edge of this corner here is an exceptional place. They're going to be going out in those fields hunting, going out this road. At the end of this road, that T right there is another good place. The animals are just going to be traveling both ways.
And with the wind direction, it's good to have in a couple different spots.
It is. It's excellent. Like if I was going to make a set here, I'd probably put one of the primary set right there on that edge. The wind's blowing this way, so the animal coming up the road, it's going to blow that scent toward the roads where it can stop it and catch it. I'd also put one on the other side, because when that animal gets caught, another animal comes along, he's going to be circling, checking it out, he don't know what's going on, and he'll find that set over there even if the wind is wrong, I'm sorry. And with this wind changing a lot, either set could be your primary set.
That's just it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you letting me tag along with you.
Man, we had a great week, didn't we?
We did. You have a great trap. I see you're going to have a lot of success with them because we did. I mean, there were pad catches and
man,
even got a
perfect
coyote.
catches on every one.
So that
We
1.5
caught
is
another
strong.
coyote, same thing, right above the pad. I'm not pushing this as a coyote trap, but if you catch an occasional coyote,
But it'll hold them.
Yeah, it'll
That's
hold
the
them.
thing.
Just a good little trap. I'm real pleased how this went. And this area up here, man, is this some red fox territory. This is the last stronghold of them that I know of. There might be some other pockets around, but this is it for the red fox, and you need to get out there and get them. A few coyotes up here, not too bad yet, and I hope it never is, but it's probably coming.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But
But you got to get out here and do this while you can.
And we got some skinning to do.
We do. Get off the couch,
There you
go
go.
out here, set traps, make some memories.
Let's go hit the fur shed.
Let's hit it, and we'll see you at a Trappers Convention. Stop and say hi.
Fur Life is proudly sponsored by Uncle Freddy's Gut Glove, The Buck Cage, Comstock Custom Cages, Dusk to Dawn Bow Fishing, Mountain View Guide Service, The Stealth Screen, The Raptor Razor, Night Owl Lures, Wolf Creek Products, PCS Outdoors, Lennon Lures. Today's episode is sponsored by Wolf Creek Products and Traps, featuring Glenn Witchie. Now let's go set some traps.